Progressive magazine FEB-2018 840 words, 12 and 13 exercise, 100 word per minute. Be ready? Start. Now, for many years past, most of these programs have been considered in the world context, and I had a feeling, and I still have that feeling, that the continent of Asia is somewhat neglected, somewhat overlooked. It is not considered important enough for as much attention to be given to it as is given to certain other parts of the world. Possibly that has been so because most of the people who were considering these programs were themselves intimately connected with the other parts of the world, and naturally they thought of them in the first instance. Naturally, also, if I have to consider these programs, I would attach more importance to Asia because it affects me more intimately. About that kind of reaction apart, it is quite obvious you that you cannot consider the problem of Asia or the problem of Europe or the problem of America or the problem of Africa in isolation from the problem of other countries. It just cannot be done, and if some countries which are fortunate enough today think that they can lead their lives in isolation, irrespective of what happens in the rest of the world, it is obvious that they are under a misapprehension. Today, if one part of the world goes down economically, it has a tendency to drag others with it, just as when unfortunately war breaks out, other people who did not want we are involved. So it is not a question of the prosperous merely out of the generosity of their hearts, helping those who are not prosperous, though generosity is a good thing. But it is a question of enlightened self interest, realizing that if some parts of the world do not progress, remain backward, they have an adverse effect on the whole economy of the world, and they tend to drag down those parts that are at present prosperous. Therefore, it becomes inevitable to consider these problems in the global way and to pay even more attention to those parts which are relatively backward. Asia has been for generations past in a some static and background condition, but during the last few years, mighty forces have been at work in Asia. These forces inevitably thought in terms of political change to begin with, because without political change, it was not possible to have any far reaching or enduring economic change. Large parts of Asia were colonial territory dominated by other countries. From that connection, they have obtained some advantage sometimes. While it did undoubtedly, in a sense, shake up that static condition, at the same time it tends to preserve it too for the benefit of the people. This appeal is preferred against the judgment and final orders passed by the High Court Gujarat at Ahmedabad in special civil application of 2008. The respondent was working as a judicial officer under the administrative control of the High Court, namely the appellant herein. Labour Code of Bhavnagar had passed ex-party award in reference number 490 of 1990 in favor of workmen where in his termination was set aside with a direction to grant consequential benefits. The employer filed miscellaneous application number 90 of 1993 to set aside the ex parte award in the said case, and the Labour Code dismissed the application. Employer filed another miscellaneous application number 37 of 1997 praying to set aside the ex parte award in the said case. Meanwhile, workmen filed recovery application of 1997 and the Labour Code directed recovery in pursuance to order passed in reference number 490 of 1990. Challenging the original award and the order passed in recovery application, the employer preferred special civil application and the High Court dismissed the same. Respondent as in charge judge of the Labour Code of Bhavnagar allowed the employer its miscellaneous application number 37 of 1997. This workman filed a complaint before the President Industrial Tribunal. The workman challenged the said order by filing civil application 460 of 1998 and the High Court dismissed the same. Two members of the Industrial Court conducted preliminary inquiry on the complaint of the workman against the respondent and concluded against him. Aggravated by the order in special civil application number 460 of 1998, both the workman and employer preferred independent letters patent appeal. They came to be disposed of by common order in terms of settlement arrived in at between the parties. Stop. The inquiry officer passed the final order. The High Court recorded tentative decision accepting the inquiry report. The respondent was dismissed from service on 19th November 2007. Challenging the same, the respondent officer preferred a special civil application of 2008 before the High Court. It has allowed the application and set aside the inquiry report and order of dismissal passed against the applicant. Aggravated by the same on the administrative side, the High Court has preferred the present appeal. The employer filed first miscellaneous application number 92 of 1993 to set aside the ex parte award in reference number 490. Stop.